Facebook.com/LiveNowDT, as well as YouTube.com/WakeUpCallDT. I'm inside the Cafe Kubal Studios, located on 3501 James Street, 324 West Water Street, 208 North Townsend Street, as well as 401 South Salina Street in Syracuse, as well as inside of Golisano's Children's Hospital. And you can find them at the pinnacle of manliness, right there where all the roads converge. That giant brown striped building is Cafe Kubal, and it is there for you on 343 Fayette Street in Manlius, New York. So, with all of that being said, we are inside of the Fantasy Football Power Hour, and I'm always happy to have my partner Mike Sofka with all things fantasy football. We're going to run the gamut in an hour and bring you every single NFC quarterback situation. And with that being said, let me bring in this gentleman into the Fantasy Football Power Hour, proudly powered by the Wildcat Sports Pub. Mr. Sofka, how are we doing, sir?
I'm doing wonderful. How are you, Dan?
I'm doing well, man. And listen, I'm getting the itch. I'm getting the let's do this thing. I mean, I'm excited, and you and I last year tried to make something happen. Obviously, I didn't really travel anywhere last year, but this year we will be back on site, on location, together in Florida. We got a couple months to plan this thing, and for the 11th year, we're going to do a retroactive thing because our decade anniversary needs to be celebrated. So we will be celebrating our 10-year anniversary and our 11th year down in Florida with our league that I started 11 years ago. So I'm very excited to say that I will physically be down in Florida to draft with you in just a couple months, and I'm very, very much looking forward to that.
Yeah, please. I'm looking forward to it. I can't wait. It's like, I think I made a comment to you the other day. It's like waiting for Christmas. Every day we get closer. Every day the excitement builds. So, and if you're one of those people who shops early, well, that's a smart thing for you to do in fantasy football. Get your nose in the book early. But the thing is, you don't have to use a book. You could just, online, on your phone, you can on your smart TV, you can pull us up. It's amazing. So, I look forward to another highly productive, highly prosperous, highly profitable football season. For those of you who play for a little more than entertainment only, this is the place to be, and I'm glad you're here with us.
Yeah, so happy to have you all here this morning on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside of the Fantasy Football Power Hour. Mike, I don't want to waste a second. We're going to go from the north, the south, the east, and the west. Let's start in the NFC North, and we're going to start with them Chicago Bears. So what are your thoughts on the Bears and what they have to say? I don't know why I made them Boston in my rendition of them this morning. The Bears are not the Bears, but maybe a little bit the Bears because, it's that Midwest. What are your thoughts on the Chicago Bears as we get set for this season, their quarterback situation? They can never make it easy on anybody by any stretch of the imagination. The Chicago Bears are where they are. And what are your thoughts on where they are?
Yeah, I'm in a stay away position here. And by the way, I thought you get an A for the effort on the Bears thing. The Bears, I think he did well there. Hey, Andy Dalton was brought in to be the guy. He was known to be the place card. It was no surprise that they were going to have somebody else come in and compete with Nick Foles. And well, Justin Fields fell into their lap. So I think it's an interesting situation. I think Andy Dalton's going to get most of the first team snaps going into the season. And then I think it's only a matter of time before Justin Fields takes over. I think possibly mid-year, possibly, if they come out of the gates and go, 1-4 or something like that, I think it's very possible we see Justin Fields. Why not at that point? But I think there's going to be some sort of curve either way. And unfortunately, those curves are going in a downward spiral because I got Justin Fields. If that's the scenario, he ranks number 25 on my rankings. I've seen him as high as 19 and as low as 32. Meanwhile, I got Andy Dalton a lot lower at 38, and most other people have him in the mid to high 30s as well. So a lot of people feeling that, Justin Fields is going to get his opportunity sooner rather than later. We're early in the process right now. I still think Andy Dalton's going to be the starter, but I definitely want to stay away from this situation. There are some weapons there in Chicago. Allen Robinson, Darnell Mooney, I think is a quality guy too. I don't see it happening where either one of those guys are going to be highly successful and help you win your championship. So I'm staying away.
Yeah, I mean, Chicago it's a tumultuous place when it comes to quarterbacks. You don't want to be held up in this. Listen, Justin Fields, I would rather tell you to, wait a few weeks into the season and, I don't know, maybe 8 or 9 weeks into the season and, okay, Justin Fields is playing. Okay, he's playing well. Oh, this is great. Go pick him up in week number 8 or week number 9. This is not a guy to draft. This is not a situation to draft. Even in my leagues where you get the team quarterback, so you would get Andy Dalton, Justin Fields, and Nick Foles, it's still not worth drafting this right now because it's not clear who's going to do what and when. And that is the easiest way for me to put it. Stay away because who's doing what and when is not answered. It hasn't been answered in years by Chicago, and it's not being answered right now. So you know what to do. Stay away. Detroit Lions, Mike, next thing up here. It's not Matt Stafford anymore. It's Jared Goff. And not only did Detroit get a ton of picks, but they got Jared Goff in this. They look like they made out in this. Matt Stafford's a talented quarterback, but the Detroit Lions got a former number 1 pick and a bunch of capital in upcoming drafts. What are your thoughts on Jared Goff in Detroit? Behind him, Tim Boyle, who used to be with Green Bay, and David Blough is there as well.
Yeah, I'm beginning to think that why Jared Goff is no longer in L.A. is because he's not as good as we thought he was. Him and Carson Wentz thought to be, 1-2, 2-1 in their draft class. I got news for you. You could remember back as far as, Manning and Ryan Leaf. There was a decision that had to be made. One went north, one went way south, way quick. I think Jared Goff is on his way south. I definitely think that, Detroit did well with what they got in return, but I think Stafford's the better quarterback. Now, Stafford's 33, Jared Goff's 6 years younger than that, so they did go with some youth there. But, Kenny Galladay is no longer there. I like DeAndre Swift there, though. So there's some pluses and minuses. And if there was a place or an opportunity for Jared Goff to prove people wrong and for him to rebuild and start over, this would be a great opportunity because they're willing to build the team somewhat around him. They're a little lackluster in the receiver department, if you ask me. Bashard Perryman, I like the guy. I want to like the UCF product, but he can never get it going. He's always injured. Tyrell Williams, half the people don't know who he is. There's a reason for that. Same thing with Khalif Raymond. I like Quintez Cephas, the up-and-coming, the second-year receiver, and I like who they drafted in Amon St. Brown. If you're in a league that gives you return yards, you want to take Amon St. Brown, Amon-Ra St. Brown. You want to take him near the end of the draft and get those return. He's already penciled in to be the punt returner and returner, and I think he's going to find his way onto the field in the slot position as well. So there's some value around Jared Goff. It's just a matter of what he's going to do with it. Right now, I'm not that high on him. I got him ranked number 26 in redraft, Jared Goff. So again, another situation I'm probably going to stay away from.
Yeah, I don't see this as something that I really want to jump into. I feel better about it than the Lions position, but that's not saying a ton. Or, pardon me, better about it than the Bears position. But Lions, Tigers, and Bears, everything's kind of in my head this morning. But I will tell you that, I feel better about Jared Goff than I feel about anything in Chicago currently. But that still doesn't make me draft Jared Goff. So we're talking about drafting. We're talking about using a spot. Folks, you have, your draft. How many rounds is your draft? You may have 16 picks. You may have 18 picks. You may have 14 picks. You may have 20 picks. This is not somebody to utilize a pick on. I think that there's better quarterbacks out there. I think there's better quarterbacks if you take a third quarterback in a league that, allows you to do that. And, maybe it doesn't have 15 teams or 16 teams where there's going to be some more players out there to get. I just don't see a lot of value in you picking Detroit's quarterback right out of the gate. It's how I feel. It's pretty simple. Tyrell Williams is there now from the Chargers, and he's got Rashad Perriman is a journeyman. Tyrell Williams is a newcomer. Ahmad-Ra St. Brown, this is a guy that they drafted. Geronimo Allison coming over from Green Bay. This is literally a team that is trying. Sage Surratt is here. This is a team that is trying to make one of their wide receivers a household name. I think there's a lot of value to DeAndre Swift. in this situation of not having a dominant wide receiver and all of this newness on the team. So I think DeAndre Swift's stock goes up with Jared Goff and the wide receivers coming in, but I just don't see the value in Jared Goff right now. Mike, would you agree with that? I know you mentioned Swift, but is Swift in like the best fantasy place right now because of all the question marks?
Yeah, I like DeAndre Swift a lot. I think he's going to have a tremendous year. But again, some of that's going to depend on Goff. If the opponents know they could just stack 7, 8 in the box, there's going to be problems for DeAndre Swift. But I don't think that's going to be the case. I think there's going to be a balance there, and I think DeAndre Swift is a top running back to make sure you have on your team, maybe as an RB2.
Yeah, and then we go over to Green Bay. Aaron Rodgers is still there. Jordan Love was drafted last year. They traded up to get him. Got to make Aaron Rodgers feel great about that. Then they brought in Blake Bortles, former Jaguars hopeful franchise quarterback that didn't ultimately pan out, but he did a lot of work in second all-time in many of the numbers, just so people know that. And if he would have stayed and had the talent of Mark Brunell, he probably would have passed Mark Brunell and could have gotten even closer to him if he had the talent that Mark Brunell had. So I just think it's funny that everybody loves Mark Brunell and craps on Blake Bortles, but if you actually look at the numbers, it's really not that far off. So Blake Bortles, Kurt Benkert, both brought into Green Bay, not making Aaron Rodgers feel any better. They're trying to figure out this marriage, and they draft Jordan Love last year, and then they bring in 2 guys as emergency backups. What are your thoughts in Green Bay? And if he's still on the team come the start of the season or close to the start of the season, do you have concerns or do you draft him? What do you do?
Yeah, Aaron's 38, or he's going to be 38. And I don't see him walking away from this situation here. I don't see him playing elsewhere. I don't understand this. I'm for some reason, I can't vision that happening. I think he's going to end up staying in Green Bay. Look, they finally brought in a receiver product for him in this past draft, although not as highly touted, not one of the first picks that he would have preferred. But the guy spells his name the exact same way that Aaron does. I'm talking about Amari Rodgers from Clemson, the 3rd-round pick. This is a tremendous slot receiver. He's going to start in the slot. And, heck, that's going to be a great thing for Aaron to have. I think they have been building this team a little bit around him, but not enough to his liking. I think a lot of the moves have been questionable in his mind. The Jordan Love move, of course, last year, trading up into the 1st round to get him. And then, what does that say about your confidence? It says another Brett Favre situation. And I got to begin to wonder. At first, I thought it was Brett Favre going back and forth, being wishy-washy. But now I'm starting to think it's Green Bay now that I see the guy who was on the bench and saw that and surely doesn't want to have that type of end to his career at Green Bay. Now he's repeating the cycle. And it begs the question, is that really what Aaron wants? I don't know. I'm sure he's saying or not saying the right things for political reasons and for contract reasons and so forth, but they just re-upped his contract. So I don't understand what he's doing. I don't understand the play other than it's power and maybe another money grab. Maybe he thinks he wants to go host Jeopardy, or maybe he thinks he's going to use the Jeopardy threat as an incentive to get more money out of Green Bay and renegotiate. But I like some of the things around him. I like the running back. I like Aaron Jones. I thought they did well bringing in A.J. Dillon. Valdez, Scantling, St. Brown, yeah, whatever. Alan Lazard, I've been impressed with him ever since I met the guy. I really think that this is a team that can be reckoned with for Aaron Rodgers. This is a team that can do playoff damage if it's Aaron Rodgers. But if it's not Aaron Rodgers, I don't know what to tell you. This has affected his ranking in my mind's eye. I've got him near the bottom of the QB1 rankings. I've seen him as high as 6 and as low as 17. I have him at 9 on my quarterback ranking. So I think we can look forward to a good year from Aaron, but is he going to play? That's the whole thing. I think he is.
Yeah, I think when push comes to shove, he wants to play. I mean, you brought it up. He's in his upper 30s. He can't just sit. I mean, he could, but if you're an ultimate competitor, you won't. And if he knows what it's like to have to sit and wait, so why put that upon himself? I don't see him. I mean, listen, if he's going to sit and baby this thing, then I'm going to take some issue with that. And I think ultimately he's going to play somewhere. So, and the closer that we get to the season, I think that it's going to be there. They got to figure it out. This is DEFCON 5 lockdown right now. Okay, this is like Darth Vader's trying to board the ship type of thing. So,
by the way, Dan,
yeah.
he didn't show up to the first day of the 3-day mandatory minicamp, and they can fine him up to $93,000 and change for missing those 3-day minicamps. So there's still a couple more days to play out to improve or prove to us his posture one way or the other.
Yeah, and Mike, thanks for bringing that up. He has made these decisions to not be around. And, like you said, is this a contract negotiation thing? Because it doesn't feel like it is, because, if he's been taken care of in that respect, ultimately, if he's not happy and he's not going to get happy, how can the team be happy? But see, I'm going to talk about this on tomorrow's show about contracts and with the Sports Hit List guys, with Carl Coulange, as well as Travis McKay and Ray Lachard at 10:15 a.m. Eastern Time. I'm just not a fan of somebody holding a franchise hostage, and I understand like guys got to be taken care of, and I understand that players got to be looked after. I get that. Okay, I know that you got to do right by the players, and I know like the owners don't always do right by the players, and I get the arguments on all of that. Where my frustration comes in is this type of situation. If you're Green Bay, I mean, he knows he's got it all in his hands. He knows that. I mean, who else's hands could it possibly be in Green Bay than Aaron Rodgers? So he knows that. And I don't know. I mean, is he going to be hurting himself more, in the long run? Because if they don't know if they could count on him, then, are they going to really build around him? I mean, look at what they're doing. They brought in 2 quarterbacks behind Jordan Love. I mean, it's just like it's like this it's like they're trying to prepare themselves for everything. So, if things were okay in Green Bay, then things would be okay in Green Bay. And things are not okay in Green Bay from how I see it and from who I know. So, I'm going to, where I would normally say, yay, Aaron Rodgers, now I'm going, I think I'm good. So, I'm this is a talented quarterback, but a tumultuous situation. And that puts us in an interesting place, because normally we would tell you to draft Aaron Rodgers, but as he gets older and as, he doesn't look all too happy about being in Green Bay, it makes it very hard for Mike and I to say, yeah, do this, because it could be a wasted draft pick. Kirk Cousins is still in Minnesota. They drafted Kellen Mond. Thoughts about Minnesota, Mr. Sofka?
Yeah, I think Kellen Mond was a sneaky pick. I had him ranked as a guy who could come into the NFL, get himself in a right situation, and find himself starting sooner rather than the later that people think. Kellen Mond, of course, out of Texas A&M, I like the pick a lot. But this is still Kirk Cousins' team. I don't think this guy comes in and is a threat to Kirk Cousins, at least not initially. Kirk Cousins gets in those funks every now and then, but, he's not afraid to come off the field and yell, did you like that? Did you like that? There are some things to like there in Minnesota. Justin Jefferson, the outstanding rookie from this past year, left no question marks remaining of, what happened with Stephon Diggs. It doesn't matter. We got Justin Jefferson. Adam Thielen, of course, is the guy tried and true there all the time. They improved their left tackle situation, bringing in Christian Darrisaw. And, the running back situation's not bad either. Dalvin Cook, I think he could be the top running back in fantasy football, if not for all his injuries. And, again, hopefully he stays injury-free. You do want to handcuff him late in the draft with Alexander Madison, but Kirk Cousins is going to be an up-and-down quarterback. Kirk Cousins is that new Mendoza line in quarterback for me. In other words, he's number 16. He's right there in the middle. He's probably not going to kill you, but he's probably not going to win your championship either. I've seen him ranked as high as 12 and as low as 24 So 16 is where I have Kirk Cousins. I think that's the right place for him. I'm not afraid to have him as my QB2.
Yeah, Kirk Cousins is he's not a bad quarterback by any stretch of the imagination. I think he gets a knock, because everybody's paying attention to the Pat Mahomes of the world and the Lamar Jacksons and whatnot. But Kirk Cousins is not bad by the numbers. And when we look at what he's done recently here, we look at his numbers that he just came away with. He had 35 touchdowns to 13 interceptions this past season. It's his second time that he's had at least 30 touchdowns in a season in his entire career, and that's happened in 2 out of the last 3 seasons, and the only season he didn't in the middle, 2019 to 2020, he had 26. So we're talking about a guy who has had a lot of, ever since he's been in Minnesota, 30 touchdowns to 10 interceptions, 26 to 6, and 35 to 13. He's not a bad backup quarterback. I think he should be. If he's available, then pick him up. This is not a guy to overlook, and I think people will, because he doesn't have the name that everybody's like, ooh, ah, you know what I mean? So you don't need an ooh, ah quarterback. You need a quarterback who's going to win you games. You need a quarterback who's going to fill in for that 1 week where your Patty Mahomes is off. So Kirk Cousins, not a bad backup. And Mike and I think that you should take a chance on him. NFC North is where we were at. The NFC South will start in Carolina. That's where we've gone in our minds for this piece of the show. Sam Darnold is there. So is my guy P.J. Walker from Temple. Guess who knows him well? Matt Rule. Why? Because Matt Rule was the coach at Temple. How do I know that? Because I covered him and P.J. Walker when they were there. Will Grier is also there, the former Florida gentleman who went over to West Virginia, and now they are all on the same team. Will Grier could be the quarterback of the future, which we thought when Cam Newton was there. P.J. Walker, a serviceable backup, but now Sam Darnold's there. Teddy Bridgewater signed a 3-year contract with 2 years guaranteed and is already gone in less than a calendar year. It's Sam Darnold's team who came over there still in his rookie contract. How Carolina has changed and changed again after Cam Newton. What are your thoughts on Carolina, Mike?
Yeah, I like Carolina. I think they're a good team all the way around. I like DJ Moore a lot. I like Robbie Anderson a lot. I like the new guy they drafted and brought in Terrace Mitchell. I like Christian McCaffrey. What's not to like there? Mike Davis gone now, took his opportunity, showed what he could do under the bright lights, and he capitalized on that going to Atlanta. I'm looking at Sam Darnold, though, and I'm wondering, if you take a Ferrari engine out of a Ferrari and put a Chevrolet in, it's no longer a Ferrari. It's a Ferrari body with a Chevrolet engine. Well, it's the same thing here at quarterback. I'm not sure that there's repairable damage. In other words, I think it's irreparable where Sam Darnold is in his career, unfortunately. I've seen him as ranked as high as 16. I've seen him as low as 29. This is a guy who's hanging on, but he's got the talent around him to do it. He's got the number 1 running back in fantasy football. He's got a top 10 receiver and a top 8 receiver right there in DJ Moore and Robbie Anderson, respectively. Yeah, maybe the tight ends could use some work, but he didn't have a tight end with the Jets either. I'm just wondering, is this really the move that sparks an improvement for Sam Darnold? I speak of those tight ends. One of them is Dan Arnold. Are we going to see a Darnold to Arnold? I don't think we're going to hear that a lot. I've got him ranked somewhere in the RB3 to stay away from category right now, number 24 on my ranking.
Well, and the thing too is, you talk about all this, you're talking about the Arnolds, and it's just making me sit here and say to myself, what about Tom Arnold? The former husband of Roseanne Barr, Tom Arnold. And I mean, that's that when you say Dan Arnold, that's what I think of. That's what comes to my mind, and that's where I'm at. 62 years old, Tom Arnold. Why not? Why not, Tom? So, but I think that, looking at Carolina, the Darnold to Arnold, and hopefully neither one of them would be in a Roseanne situation. But I don't know if I like this yet. I don't think I like this yet. I want to like this because I know that Sam has talent, and I know that the Jets know how to ruin quarterback reputations by making them the scapegoat of everything. But I don't know what Sam's going to do here. This could be a beautiful thing. They got Terrence Marshall Jr. in the draft. They have DJ Moore. They have Robbie Anderson. Remember who played with Robbie Anderson? Sam Darnold. Remember how they got rid of Robbie Anderson when him and Quincy Enunwa were the two best receivers that Sam Darnold had? Well, yeah, now he has them back. So I think it's very ironic and amazing that they trade away Robbie Anderson, and I said that hurt Sam Darnold, and now Sam Darnold gets him back, and now it can help him. So I think that's great. He's got Christian McCaffrey. He's got Chuba Hubbard behind him, another guy drafted. And so Reggie Bonifant, who's kind of a jack of all trades from Louisville. I think this is really good. I think there's some positive. He definitely has weapons, and I just like Carolina more than I like the Jets. I like a lot of things more than I like what the Jets have done lately, as far as their team goes. So I think in Carolina, he's not a bad, serviceable backup, but he's behind Kirk Cousins. That's how I would describe him. He could be your backup quarterback, and he has tremendous upside, but I'm not sold yet. And I skipped Atlanta in alphabetical order, so my apologies on that. But let's go to Atlanta. Matt Ryan, A.J. McCarron, remember him? You remember? When he was with the Cincinnati Bengals, and he was supposed to be the guy, and then he went over to the Bills for 5 days, and then he went to the Raiders for 15 minutes. Well, now he is an Atlanta Falcon, and he's behind Matty Ryan, and they also drafted Felipe Franks, the guy that used to be a Florida Gator and then became an Arkansas Razorback. So, Mike, what are your thoughts on the future of Atlanta, and where is Matt Ryan in the grand scheme of things? Is there something left in the tank for Matt Ryan, and what is it?
Yeah, I think there's a lot left in the tank for Matt Ryan. I think, the recent departure of Julio Jones isn't going to kill him like people think, because they bring in a super weapon in Kyle Pitts to put opposite Hayden Hurst. They're going to run two tight ends a lot of time to switch that up, because that's their best receiving core right there at tight end position. Hey, I like Calvin Ridley. He's obviously the number one now. You're going to look out for names that you may or may not have heard of in the past, though. Olamide Zacchaeus, Carterell Patterson. These guys might be able to step up, or a Christian Blake. There's a deep name for you to take in one of the final rounds in your draft, because he may get the starting nod. I think Matt Ryan is more of a statue-esque type quarterback, and I don't say that admirably. I say that could be to his detriment, but they added Mike Davis. So he can be a statue at times. Matt Ryan, not known for being fleet of foot. He does have some wheels. But look at the guy they drafted this year, Felipe Franks. Stand those guys side by side. Look at their style of play. One mirrors their other. Evidently, they're happy with that situation in Atlanta, and I give it to them. When it works, it works. Yeah. So hopefully Mike Davis will be able to get the job done. He'll be able to stay healthy. That'll be another outlet for Matt Ryan to throw to. Kyle Pitts is going to be an instant phenom. The guy's a freak in nature. He's a giant wide receiver playing tight end. So I think they definitely have the weapons around Matt Ryan. I've seen Matt Ryan ranked as low as 24. I've seen him as high as 9. I've got him just outside QB1 status, looking in at number 14.
Yeah, Matt Ryan does have something left in the tank. He is a talented guy. He's running in a place where, he's got over 400 completions in the last 3 seasons. He had 422 in 2018-19 on 608 attempts, 408 on 616, and 407 last season on 626. So his completion percentage, 65% or better still. His touchdowns to interceptions, 26-14 and 26-11 in the last 2 years, 35-7 3 seasons ago, 2018-19. So, it's not. He kind of lives in the world of almost 30 touchdowns a season, and he also lives in the world of double-digit interceptions more than not. If you get knocked for interceptions, that's something to look at, depending on how many points you lose. But, Matt Ryan, he's got Calvin Ridley. He's got Tajay Sharp, who comes over from the Tennessee Titans. Mike named a bunch of other guys. Olamide Zacchaeus from Virginia, who I had and covered at the ACC kickoff. Mike Davis is there now. Cordero Patterson's been all over the NFL, Minnesota to the Patriots, trying to figure out, was he a receiver? Now he's a running back. They put him at running back. And Quadri Allison coming from Pitt, he's still hung around in Atlanta. He's really got to shape up or ship out. He's going to have to try and become a number 2 to Mike Davis, or he may not be there. But, Kyle Pitts and Calvin Ridley put together should make it fun for Matt Ryan. And as he's in the potential twilight of his career, or close to it, this is a great way to continue on. Mike, we did get a question. I want to hit it really quick. I answered it on the feed on Facebook. And, of course, you can write questions to us on youtube.com/wakeupcalldt and on facebook.com/wakeupcalldt as well. And, of course, on mixlr.com/wakeupcalldt. Members only can answer can write us questions, and it is free to become a member. It only takes a couple seconds. Mike, the question is there any advantage in taking 3 quarterbacks in a redraft league that's not a super flex? And I wrote, there's value depending on who's available. I'm not typically a fan of using a draft spot on a 3rd quarterback, but at the end of the draft, it's best player available. Those are my thoughts. What are your thoughts on
it? And go over that one more. I mean, it's a redraft, and it does have a super flex,
no,
or
it does not. So, is there any advantage in taking 3 quarterbacks in a redraft league that's not a super flex?
Only if you have the bench room to afford such a luxury. 33% of the quarterbacks are going to go down. So if you figure in a consideration that you're in a 12-team league, theoretically 12 of the top quarterbacks are going to be on teams. And then theoretically 12 of the next second 12 are going to be on teams, because a lot of teams carry 2 quarterbacks. 3 quarterbacks, I'd have to have a deep bench or a tremendous value, and it would have to be a play whereas I know I'm going to get a trade later. A lot of people go, I'm just going to take the best available athlete and I can trade. Some leagues don't trade very much, if at all, and then when there is a trade, some people, like to jump up and down and scream and yell, and then there's controversy. So if you got the large enough bench to afford a luxury like that, by all means, because there's a good chance one of your quarterbacks is going to go down or miss a game or 2. So it's a smart thing to have backup at the quarterback position, but I wouldn't overemphasize it in a redraft without superflex to 3, unless, for instance, maybe my 3rd quarterback is really an QB2, a high-level QB2. Let's say it's Kirk Cousins, like I said before. He's in the middle of the teens. Well, let's say I got a guy who happens to be a Vikings fan, and I snake Cousins just before he does, and he gets all testy about it. Maybe I'm doing it for that reason. Maybe I'm blocking somebody that I know I'm going to be able to trade with. But just off the bat, no, I'm not going to carry 3 quarterbacks under that situation. Redraft, no super flex.
Yeah, so I mean, in there, we had the same sentiments. If you got the bench for it, okay, but don't waste it if you don't. And that's, I mean, you gotta be smart about what you're picking and what you're doing and how you're going about your draft. So Mike and I, similar sentiments in that. I hope it answered your question. And I want to go to, before we take a step aside, inside of the Fantasy Football Power Hour, not the Fantasy Football Power Hour, proudly presented by the Wildcat Sports Pub, 3680 Milton Avenue in Camillus, New York. And it is there for you for 7 days a week. Indoor and outdoor dining, a volleyball court, and of course they have games for the kids to play. They have an entire room to have your party at, a giant big screen television, surround sound, and so many TVs and games on all the time. They are your home for watching all of your fantasy football games, as well as everything throughout the year, from the NBA playoffs to the NHL playoffs to the Major League Baseball season and collegiate seasons. So many great things at the Wildcat, and of course you can get takeout and delivery by calling 315-487-2222. That's 315-487-2222. Mike and I going around the NFC for every quarterback situation. We don't leave any stone unturned, and in doing so, we bring you the next one up here in this world. And the next team that we have to talk about in the world of the NFC South are the New Orleans Saints. Jameis Winston Taysom Hill. Ian Book was drafted out of Notre Dame. Trevor Siemian, remember that name, from Denver. What are your thoughts, Mike? They got 4 quarterbacks, and to be completely honest with you, I feel like any of them could end up starting by the end of the season because I'm not sold on Jameis. Taysom Hill's not a traditional quarterback. Ian Book was drafted, and Trevor Siemian's been a starter. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, this is another stay away from those situations. And what I mean by that is if you look up on the New Orleans Saints official depth chart, the official one for the NFL, Taysom Hill's listed as a starter. Conventionally, everyone else in the business is considering, and when they talk about the Saints in the quarterback position, even the talking heads on TV refer to Jameis Winston first. They did draft a quarterback in Ian Book. I don't think he plays a role in this right away at all, but I do think that this team is for Taysom Hill to lose the starting position. I think there's going to be some flip-flop. I think there's going to be an opportunity where both quarterbacks play, much like Taysom Hill did with Drew Brees there as well. You know, Taysom Hill is known to throw a lot of receptions. Unfortunately, half of them are usually interceptions. You know, this is a guy who must be colorblind. This is a guy who I've said for years is not a leader of men and exercises poor judgment. We're all guilty of that to some level, some extreme. The difference is he's been given the keys to a multi-billion-dollar franchise, and you can't trust a guy who half the time he throws up the ball is going to be a bad situation. Look, there's only 3 things can happen when you throw the ball. You can complete it, it can be incomplete, or it can be intercepted. 2 of the 3 things are bad. Jameis seems to find those 2 out of 3 things all the time. So I wouldn't be surprised if Taysom Hill started. I wouldn't be surprised if Jameis Winston started. What I would be surprised is if they're on my fantasy roster in a redraft league. I'm not drafting either one of these guys. I've got them ranked in the 30s. Jameis Winston 30 and Taysom Hill 32. I don't like this situation.
Yeah, I think Taysom Hill is one of those guys that if you can draft him and put him at a wild card spot, then, you know, at that flex spot, then yay. But if you can't, then nay. Jameis Winston, no. Ian Book and Trevor Siemian, we got to wait to see what happens. I think Ian Book could be the quarterback of the future. I do not believe Jameis Winston is the quarterback of the future. And I'm upset that Teddy Bridgewater did what he did for New Orleans and lost his job in Carolina, and Jameis Winston still has his in New Orleans. I feel like Teddy Bridgewater has an argument to make there. So that's just me and my thoughts. I'm not trying to like rip on Jameis. I'm just saying if I had a choice, I'd take Teddy. Taysom, and I cover them both in college too. Taysom Hill, like I said, he's a weapon. He's not consistent. He's not a traditional quarterback. So, yeah, you got to stay away from New Orleans. This is, for anybody that was sitting there going, oh, you know, Drew Brees is so old, I'm over him. Yeah, well, guess what? You're going to miss those days, and I think you're going to miss them very early on in the season. I think 4 weeks in, you're going to be scratching your head. Tampa Bay Buccaneers, there's a guy named Tom Brady there, Mike. I heard he's pretty good. I don't know. It's a thought that I have. I don't know if I'm going to stick with it. Tom Brady, Blaine Gabbert. People are writing into the show right now. Dan, did you mean that? Did you mean that he was... Yeah, no, folks. It's called sarcasm. I know in today's world, sarcasm is a art that people don't understand how to draw, but it's a real thing, and it's important because everybody gets touchy-feely. Sarcasm is called when things are not true and people are just trying to have fun. Having fun needs to happen. If we've learned anything in a year and a half, we need to have some fun. Tom Brady is the quarterback of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He's 72 years old at the start of the season. He wants to win 19 more Super Bowls, and I think he'll win 18 of them. Blaine Gabbert is behind him. Remember him? Right, and he's a Super Bowl champion now, Blaine Gabbert. Could you imagine being any of the Jacksonville players looking at Blaine knowing that he got a ring, even though he didn't play? Kyle Trask is there for the future, and Ryan Griffin is there as well. Thoughts on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers that run through Tom Brady? We know he's successful in reality, but this has always been the question in fantasy. Is Tom Brady worth drafting?
Yeah, absolutely. Tom Brady's worth drafting. And every time I've doubted Tom Brady in his career, he's proved me wrong. And there's reasons why in years past we always associated the New England Patriots and Belichick and Brady with the evil empire. We had the Star Wars music going and everything. There was a certain thing about them. You didn't want to make a mistake against them. That still holds true when you play Tom Brady. When we talked about the Super Bowl before this last year, I said he just need to have more of a Trent Dilfer approach. Let the defense win the game and capitalize on the mistakes that the Chiefs make and take what your own defense gives you. They have an impressive defensive front there. I say it time and time again. Quarterback's best friend is his own defense. They can put you in a good situation to score by getting the ball, and they can get you out of trouble when you give up the ball. Tom's not going to make as many mistakes as a guy like Jameis Winston does, and we saw that this past year in his tremendous Super Bowl run. Of course, the Bucs did what they had to do. They put the pedal to the floor, and they brought in pieces. Tom, what do you want? You want Antonio Brown? I know just 2 weeks ago I said Antonio Brown, this is Arias, and Antonio Brown's not going to have a place on this team. It's not a good fit. 10 days later, he shows up in the locker room because Tom Brady said so. You take a look at Gronk. Gronk wouldn't be there if not. If I was O.J. Howard, I'd be so thankful. I wouldn't have been pissed off that they brought Gronk in. I would have been thankful. This is a guy I can learn from. I'm still a young player in O.J. Howard. But O.J. Howard's looking at it, well, I also got Cameron Braid I'm fighting. This is the NFL. It's not for little boys. Same thing with Ronald Jones. Well, they brought in Fournette. Now they brought in Giovanni Bernard. Be happy. Be happy you're still on the roster and that you're still thought of as a Super Bowl caliber player. I haven't even touched on Mike Evans, Chris Godwin to go along with that Antonio Brown, the young stars yet to come out, and Justin Watson, Scott Miller, Tyler Johnson. I am afraid of that guy right there. He's got future written all over him. Tom Brady can bring this team back to a Super Bowl again. They don't have a very tough schedule this year. Tom Brady's going to put up his numbers, but they're not going to be overly gaudy, even though he has all that talent around him. They're going to do what they got to do to win week to week, and they're going to make it to the Super Bowl again, and I wouldn't doubt it if they win again, much like those Tampa Bay Lightning are on their way for a repeat as well. That would be something. Yeah. 2 repeats in the same town. I've got Tom Brady ranked at number 8 as far as redraft quarterbacks. I've seen him as low as 17, and I've seen him as high as 4. I like where I have him at 8, not bottom, not middle, but, in that quasi place there on the RB1 scale. I wouldn't feel bad if Tom Brady's my quarterback, but I think some teams are going to overreach for him, and that's okay. You'll find value elsewhere on your roster when you use my drafting system. So I look forward to a highly productive year at 180-year-old Tom Brady. And again, I wouldn't mind having him as my QB1 if the situation was right.
Yeah. Look at what he's done. Second most touchdowns thrown in a season in his entire career in his only season in Tampa. 40 touchdowns, second only to the 50 he threw in 2007-8 as a member of the New England Patriots. Think of all the years that he has been in the NFL. 2 decades in the NFL. 2 decades in the NFL plus. And he just threw his second most touchdowns. And I said going into the season, he arguably had his best receiving core ever. And so I'm not surprised. 40 touchdowns and 12 interceptions. He saved my butt last year. I picked him up as my backup quarterback, and he became my starter in a lot of ways. He was a guy that was hard to keep off the field. So Tom Brady can be your fantasy starter. I went against it in the past. I've learned my lesson. He helped me out, and I appreciate that, and I reward that. We'll take a step aside for a fast break. Mike and I will be back with the NFC East and the NFC West right after this on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside of the Cafe Kubal studios. You are watching the Fantasy Football Power Hour, proudly brought to you by the Wildcat Sports Pub.
Carvel DeWitt, it's what happy tastes like. Do you know why? Because we make ice cream. Creamy, rich, flavorful ice cream. Not yogurt or iced milk like some of our competitors. Ice cream. Fresh, by hand, daily. For the calorie conscious, we have something new for you. Our new Carvelite. Same great flavor, creaminess, and texture of our regular ice cream with only 35 calories an ounce. So whether you want an ice cream cake, flying saucer, dasher, carvalanche, hard or soft ice cream, we will satisfy your craving with our fresh, handmade regular or new Carvelite ice cream. Carvel DeWitt. It's what happy tastes like.
Cafe Kubal offers same-day local delivery of our products, offering no delivery charge for Onondaga County. Shop cafekubal.com for fresh roasted coffee beans, cold brew, travel mugs, and all your essential Cafe Kubal needs. Cafe Kubal, coffee for the soul.
The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is located on 3680 Milton Avenue in the Home Depot Plaza. It is your family-friendly sports bar and restaurant. Folks, some sports bars aren't family-friendly. Some family-friendly restaurants are not sports bars. The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is proud to be both. It is that marriage that you've been looking for years. The Wildcat Sports Pub is your home base for your sports bar and restaurant needs, games for the kids, indoor and outdoor activities, and enough things on the menu to come back every single week and get to try something new. They're open Sundays from noon to 8 p.m., Monday through Wednesday, 11 a.m. to 11 p.m., and Thursday through Saturday from 11 a.m. to midnight. For reservations and party information, call 315-487-2222 for the Wildcat family-friendly sports pub and restaurant. What is up, my good people of the internet? We're back here on Wake Up Call with Dan Torra and inside of the Cafe Kubal studios, hanging out where sports meets that thing called life. We are in the Fantasy Football Power Hour, proudly brought to you by the Wildcat Sports Pub, 3680 Milton Avenue in Camillus, New York. 7 days a week, open for indoor and outdoor dining, and open for you for takeout and delivery by calling 315-487-2222. That's 315-487-2222 for the Wildcat. Make sure you head out there today and let them know that Wake Up Call sent you. I was just out there a couple days ago getting myself some slices, and you should go out and do that today. Their menu is awesome. Make sure you try the Kama fries, the fries that are kind of like twisted. They're really, really cool. The salt and pepper on them is great, and the Philly cheesesteak sauce and the chicken Caesar wrap is second to none that I've had here lately, so I definitely show them a lot of love. Let's head off to the east. Mike and I are talking about all the NFC quarterback situations, so we're going to start with the Dallas Boys, the Dallas Cowboys, Mr. Sofka. Let's start there in the NFC East, and your thoughts on the return of Dak Prescott, who finally got that paper from Jerry Jones.
Yeah, I was surprised it took that long for Jerry Jones to commit. I know, everybody's looking for the latest and greatest, and, he drafted him in the fourth round at Mississippi State, but, he had a good coach in his career in Dan Mullen, and, that was that same guy who coached Tebow, and I know they've had different career paths, but Dak was given an opportunity early and was able to get on the field early and was able to prove that he was worth it to be on the field, but, you got playmakers around him. You got Ezekiel Elliott, you got Amari Cooper, you got Michael Gallup, who's still not bad. He's on his way, but he's still not bad. That's only because he's got CeeDee Lamb there as well. I mean, yeah, do they not have a big name tight end? No. Blake Jarwin, Dalton Schultz, those aren't going to bring chills to anybody's spine on the opposing teams. Look, they improved their defense. And again, that's one of the things you can do to help a quarterback. Again, your defense can bail you out and your defense can put you in a position to win the game. Dak Prescott has capitalized on every opportunity that he's been given. And I don't think he's been given anything. I think he's earned a lot. He's had some off-season ankle surgery. I don't think that's going to impede him. I've seen him ranked as high as 2 and as low as 7. He's number 5 on my ranking this year.
Yeah, Dak Prescott, got to go with him. I think that, the level of talent, he's, he wants to make a splash. He's been injured. He's gone through everything. He has something to prove, and he's got to go out there and do it. I think he will. I'm excited about Dak Prescott. I think, he could be the 4th quarterback off the board. I really do. So I think that people have to pay attention to him and really have to take a look at that. I don't think you're going to want to play against him this year. So I like Dak Prescott. I like what he could do. I know there's a few question marks because of, injury and being away from the game for a little bit and all of that. But ultimately, I think that Dak is worth a high pick for quarterback. Not telling you to take him overall high pick, but when it comes to quarterbacks, that he should be, I would imagine he's going to be one of the ones taken off the board pretty early. Them Giants are next on the list, and I want to take a moment to, so weird for me to say, but to remember Jim Fossil, former Giants head coach who passed away at the age of 71. Pray for his soul and for him to be safe and sound in heaven, return to God and doing well, and may his loved ones be well and stay well. In Jesus' most precious name, I pray. Not something that was fun to see this morning. The Giants on the field as we move forward, Mike. Daniel Jones, Mike Lennon coming in from Jacksonville. Thoughts on Daniel Jones and his young career? Raquel Armstead also coming in from Jacksonville. What are your thoughts on Daniel Jones, who's hoping to have Saquon Barkley back?
Yeah, you can take a look at the Giants, how they value and what their thoughts are of Daniel Jones by the fact they brought in Mike Lennon. Mike Lennon's in no position to threaten Daniel Jones' job. Clayton Thorson neither. I think that they have an outstanding team they're building around him. This is a team that's on the up. This is a team that a lot of people are overlooking. If you look at the weapons, they just brought in through the draft Kadarius Toney, who's a freak of nature. 33% of the time, this cat gets when he was at Florida, they love to get him the ball in space. 33% of the time, he made at least one person miss a tackle. That's huge in the NFL. You got to get the yards after the catch. Dante Pettis is almost an afterthought. Sterling Shepard, almost an afterthought, because they brought in Darius Slayton a couple years ago. They just brought in Kenny Golladay, and they got super fast John Ross. Saquon Barkley is going to be all the way back. I think the offense is built around Daniel Jones. It's his to screw up. I didn't even mention Evan Ingram and Kyle Rudolph. I like Daniel Jones, but I'm not overly invested. In other words, I'm happy with him as my QB2 possibly. I've seen him ranked as high as 13 and as low as 27. I've got him ranked as my 21st QB. Again, I like Daniel Jones. I wouldn't mind having him on my team, but as a QB2.
Yeah, Daniel Jones, I agree. Quarterback 2 on your team, not a quarterback 1. Hasn't proven that yet. And, again, he played for the quarterback guru, David Cutcliffe in Duke, a guy that I've been around a lot and I respect a lot, who consistently sends guys to the NFL. I don't see Daniel as a 1 yet. Could he rise there? Potentially. But right now he's a quarterback 2. Philadelphia, speaking of a quarterback 2, but became a quarterback 1, Jalen Hurts. Who would have thought this quickly he would be the guy in Philadelphia? He was drafted when Jordan Love was. Got to make Aaron Rodgers feel good. But here's Jalen Hurts as the starter of Philly. Joe Flacco's still in the NFL, backup to him. And Jamie Newman, a guy that I covered at Wake Forest. What are your thoughts on the Hurts Eagles now?
Yeah, I've seen people either like or hate this situation here. I happen to like it. I think that Philly sees what I see in Jalen Hurts. I don't think Joe Flacco is a danger to him. I don't believe the newly imported Jamie Newman is a threat to him. What I do think is a threat when you look at a guy he used to throw passes to back in the day at Alabama before Hurts transferred, Devonta Smith. Heisman Trophy winner. He's going to immediately jump in the slot. Jalen Reagor showed people at times last year what he could do, flashes of brilliance with his speed, and Travis Fulgham came out of nowhere like Greg Ward. I like that. Prospects on John Hightower. He definitely looks the part. It's just a matter of delivering. Zach Ertz, he's what's hurts in this team. I'm not sure he's going to be around come opening day, but right now he's still on the roster. And Dallas Goedert as well. Got to like him as a tight end. I think there's great pieces around Jalen Hurts. I think he's Michael Vick. He's junior. I think he can make it happen with his legs. I think he's a playmaker, and he's got another playmaker in the backfield with him in Miles Sanders, so I think he'll be healthy. They drafted a Kenneth Gainwell as well to go with Boston Scott on those third downs or extreme passing downs. Look, I think Jalen Hurts has a lot to prove, but I think those in the know already know he's more than capable of proving it. I have seen him, get this, hold on to something, sit down. I've seen him ranked as high as QB4. I've seen him as low as 21. I currently have him at 10, meaning he's a good bottom And QB1 for me, I like Jalen Hurts.
Yeah, I like Hurts more than Daniel Jones in this division, and I like the low-end one because I think that, he provides a little bit of a wild card to your team, and I think that wild card could pay off dividends. I like it. I like the pick. I do. I think that taking a wild card on him is one that could be very beneficial to your team. So I like Jalen Hurts on your team as your backup quarterback and potential number one. Toward the end of this, in the season somewhere, I could see it happening. I vibe that. And like I said, I vibe it more right now than Daniel Jones. How did Ryan Fitzpatrick come into the NFL in 2005 to the St. Louis Rams then? Had nothing. Cincinnati, nothing. Goes to Buffalo, becomes a starter. Goes to Tennessee, gets to get out there and have starter time. Goes to Houston, gets to be a starter. Goes to the Jets, gets to be a starter. Goes to Tampa, gets to be the starter. Goes to Miami, gets to be the starter. The longer this man is in the NFL, the better he's getting. He is the fine wine of the NFL, if wine had hair in it. So, Ryan Fitzpatrick is now on the Washington football team. We all know how I feel about that stupid name. But Ryan Fitzpatrick, Taylor Heineke, Kyle Allen, Steven Montez, he's got another team! This man can go anywhere. He's been on multiple NFL franchises. Miami, Tampa, Jets, Houston, Tennessee, Buffalo. 6 teams where he's been the starter. And this is going to be number 7. Ryan Fitzpatrick. How does he keep getting jobs, Mike? And why do we just, we can't help but love him? The lumberjack of the NFL has got some talent. And people like it. And that magic, people buy it.
Yeah, actually, the way I saw it here, and maybe I'm wrong, it looks like he'll be starting for his record 9th NFL team. Another thing to consider is when he was drafted in 2005, he was drafted in the 7th round, 250 pick, 250. That was the pick in the 05 draft. But we also left out where he got drafted out of. That quarterback powerhouse school in Northeast, Harvard. He's a smart guy. That's why he was able to parlay this. He was able to develop some character late in his career to go with his pizzazz. Yeah, he's going to throw some touchdowns. Yeah, he's going to throw some interceptions as well. He's aggressive. He's turnover prone to an extent, but not to the extent of a Jameis Winston. He's got speed and talent at the receiver. They just brought in Curtis Samuel. Kelvin Harmon, I think that's the name to remember. He's going to prove himself. And Terry McLaurin as a young receiver has wowed me. They bring in Diami Brown as well last year. Dandy Golden, Cam Sims. I think Thomas Logan might be a name to look out for. Look out for a just drafted John Bates in the tight end position. Gotta love the backfield with Antonio Gibson out of Memphis. Proved a lot of people wrong last year. Surprised a lot of people. And J.D. McKissick, the pass catching down back out of the backfield. I think Ryan Fitzpatrick is worthy of a spot on your roster, but as a bottom end QB2. I have him ranked at number 20. I've seen him as high as 14 and as low as 28. Again, I've got him ranked at number 20 QB.
Yeah, and Mike, technically, yes, he's been a starter at all 9 franchises. If he does indeed start on day one, which we anticipate he will with Washington, he does have 9 teams that he would have started on. But as a dominant, and I should have said that, as a guy who was like the guy, we saw that at the end in Cincinnati, and then in Buffalo, Tennessee, Houston, the Jets, the Bucks, Miami, and now we expect with Washington. Look at his numbers. 146 starts in 165 games played. His record's awful, 59, 86, and 1, but he's got almost 35,000 passing yards, 34,977. He needs 23 to start the season and get 35,000. He has 223 touchdowns to 169 interceptions. And I think, in the case of the question that we were asked before, Ryan Fitzpatrick could be a quarterback 3 if you have the space for him. So, if you have the space, he's not bad. Superflex, not bad. But it's if you have the space, because he's not a quarterback 1. And a quarterback 2, he is, but there's other guys out there. Arizona Cardinals, Mike, will end in the NFC West. Kyler Murray, Colt McCoy, still in the NFL. What up with that? And Chris Streveler is there as well. What do you think about Kyler Murray? Is he better than Dak or less than Dak in fantasy? I guess that's my litmus test. Where is Kyler Murray in relation to Dak Prescott, Matt Ryan, Aaron Rodgers is like kind of up in the air thing. Where's Kyler Murray in all this?
He's above all of them. The only people that stand taller than him on my ranking, because I got him ranked at number 3, the only two that stand taller is Patrick Mahomes, obviously number 1, and Josh Allen at number 2. And we talked about those guys in the recent past here. Yeah. Look, I think Kyler Murray steers this ship. He's the only one. Colt McCoy, nobody's going to take this job from him outside of an injury. He's got an outstanding back who I think could play every down, and Chase Edmonds still has a lot to prove. But then again, they bring in a James Conner to lighten that load a little bit, and I like that move. I don't think it's a threat to Chase Edmonds. I think it's going to help both those players. A little deficient in the tight end position, although Max Williams does have giant hands, but I like the wide receivers. A.J. Green, DeAndre Hopkins, Andy Isabella is still kind of outdoor for me. He and / Christian Kirk are like that third receiver on their team. They're going to start out with Andy Isabella in the slot, but it's only going to be a matter of time. We're going to see Rondell Moore in the slot. This guy's a beast. This guy's an animal. This guy will be in the starting lineup by the end of the year, Rondell Moore. And I think Kyler Murray is going to use that to his advantage. He has a scrambling capability. He thinks when he's on his feet, and he makes plays when he's rushed outside the pocket. I've got him ranked at number 3. I've seen him ranked as number 1 and as low as number 5. I got him right in the middle of that there, so I feel good at where I'm at number 3 with Kyle Murray. Yeah,
Kyler Murray is a danger, and we thought he was good last year. I mean, Kyler Murray, he has the ability to be a threat. And again, sometimes it comes down to when you don't know who to draft at the spot you're at, you ask yourself the question, do I want to play against him? Do I want to go up against him in fantasy? And I don't know many people that want to go up against Kyler Murray. 20 touchdowns to 12 interceptions as a rookie, 26-12 this past season. He started in every game he's played in, 32 games, 32 starts in the regular season. He has a 64% completion percentage that raised to 67.2 last year. Over 3,700 yards as a rookie, over 3,900 yards as a sophomore in the NFL. His numbers are getting better, and he is only 2 years in. I like Kyler Murray, and he got value. So, boy got some game, and I think that you should give him a shot on your team. You know what? Deshaun Watson, without all the issues and everything going on, we could have argued him here. We could have argued him and Kyler Murray up against each other. Well, can't do that anymore. But you know what, Aaron? You know what Kyler Murray has? The old weapon of Deshaun Watson, DeAndre Hopkins, and A.J. Green, and Rondell Moore. Oh my goodness! And James Conner. Arizona, I said last year they were a sleeping giant. This year, they're even more of a sleeping giant. They got better. They got good. Yeah, well, this guy might only last 1 more year, Dan. This guy might only last 2 more years, Dan. I don't care, because we're building for the now. We're building for the now. We want to see what the team can do now. Yeah, you want to build toward the future, but you want to win today. And Arizona is only getting better. Pay attention, folks. Don't get left behind. Kyler Murray, definitely worth a high draft pick at quarterback. At quarterback. Not overall, at quarterback. And what I mean by that is don't draft him number 1 overall. That's what I'm saying. Los Angeles Rams, Matt Stafford, John Wolford, who filled in pretty darn well, showing kind of like, oh, okay, Jared Goff, is he really that good? So he's there. Bryce Perkins, my guy from Virginia. Devlin Hodges, he's there too. The backup that was the third stringer in Pittsburgh. What are your thoughts on Matt Stafford with the Rams? He has Robert Woods, Cooper Kupp, Deshaun Jackson at 105 years old, Tutu Atwell out of Louisville coming in here as a rookie, Van Jefferson as a young receiver. All those guys are there. Cam Akers and Darrell Henderson. Tyler Higbee's there. And Everett left, so now it could be Higbee at tight end predominantly. What are your thoughts about Matt Stafford and the weapons he has in L.A.? Does he revive his fantasy value here?
I think he does. I think it's a better move for Stafford. I think it's an upgrade for Stafford. I think it's an upgrade for the Rams. I think it helps both parties. The Rams got the talented Cam Akers, the young running back, looks great. Pair him with Darrell Henderson. They jettison Malcolm Brown, but that's okay. They've got receiving options. Cooper Kupp, Van Jefferson out of Florida is going to grow exponentially this year. Robert Woods. These are some underrated receivers. They still have Deshaun Jackson, who's 150 years old. And Simba Webster switch over from defensive back to a wide receiver and returns kicks as well. Tutu Atwell they bring in along with some other young names. I think Stafford is capable of steering this ship, and he's got it with what they got. He can't wait till next year or the year after. You know why? He's 154 years old, and the Rams don't have first-round picks. My grandchild will have grandchildren before we see the Los Angeles Rams have a first-round pick again. They've gambled all those away. They've got some great defensive players. I think this bodes well for Matt Stafford. Now, that being said, I don't think Matt Stafford is going to win your championship for you. I think he can, depending on the build of the rest of your team. But I think he's capable of doing that if you put him in that position, if you draft him way late. But I think he's going to be overdrafted because of the hype. I see him ranked as high as 11. I see him as low as 18. I have him as QB 12, bottom end of the first round of quarterbacks. That's your guy. As long as you don't overdraft him, and I'll get more into specifics of that as we get closer to the redraft season here, I think Matt Stafford is a good quality quarterback.
Yeah, he is. I mean, Matt Stafford's got value. I think that this could help him going off to L.A., but he's a low-end one. I mean, I don't have to say too much more about that. He's got weapons. He's definitely got life. Leaving Detroit and looking around and looking in L.A. and saying, wow, like look at what I have. Look at the palm trees that I have on this field. You know, he's got some paradise here more than he had in Detroit, but I still think he's a quarterback too. He's low-end quarterback 1, high-end quarterback 2. So that's kind of where I keep him. I still, I said quarterback 2, but I'm going to say low-end 1 more so than high-end 2 right now. I don't think he's a bad backup for you. My only question mark is being in a new place and how quickly can he translate. Outside of that, he's a talented quarterback that was forgotten in Detroit, which is sad. San Francisco, Mike, Jimmy Garoppolo, and we always said, what would he look like when he's healthy? What does the team look like run by him? Well, the only time he was ever healthy, they went to the Super Bowl and they lost to the Chiefs. But he hasn't stayed healthy. God willing, he will. But guess what San Fran did? They took their 12th pick in 2021 and went up to 3 and got Trey Lance and took a giant flyer on the North Dakota State Bison. And shout out to my opportunity of speaking with the Summit League Commissioner, Tom Duple, because we talked about Trey Lance in North Dakota State. What are your thoughts on San Francisco? They have Jimmy, they have Trey, they still have Nate Sudfeld, and guess who else they got? Josh Rosen. What are the thoughts on San Fran? Is it Jimmy's team or is it Trey's team? And if we're in a team quarterback situation like we have in the Wake Up Call fantasy leagues, is this a perfect position because you get Jimmy and Trey? What are your thoughts?
This is like one of those grenade teams. Again, I'm staying away from this whole situation here. I don't like it. Maybe I'll change my tune shortly before the season kicks off if some decisions are made. And some of those decisions are who's going to start. Well, right now, it's Garoppolo's team. He's going to be the starter until he's either traded or injured again because he has a hard time staying healthy. Trey Lance, fast. He's got speed. He's got strength. He runs a pro-style offense. He can read the field well. But this is a guy who's only had like a year and a half of football, and that was at North Dakota State. Not knocking anything they did because they have produced some players, and those Bison have won championship after championship. So I'd take a guy who's been in a small pond, who's been a big fish in a small pond. I'll take him and put a chance on him. I'll surround him with Brandon Ayuk and Deebo Samuel and Richie James and Mohamed Sanu and George Kittle. Are you kidding me? Only one of the top tight ends in the league. Now, running back, there is some challenges there, but I do believe in Raheem Mostert still, and I do also believe in Trey Sermon, the young rookie they brought in, and JaMycal Hasty. Chase. He shined at times last year, and they brought in Elijah Mitchell as well. This is a young team on the rise. I think Garoppolo's days are numbered. I think Trey Lance's days, you got to question when that's going to happen. There's still too much ambiguity in this situation for me. I've got Trey Lance at 29, and I've got Garoppolo 33, and I've got everywhere I see within reason is just about the same, neck and neck, and Lance is usually edging out Garoppolo on that ranking. So I'm going to stay away from this situation in redraft.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is something that, again, we're going to have to see where it shakes out to. I'm excited about Trey Lance. I feel like the Jimmy Garoppolo era might be ending sooner than later. I mean, I feel like Jimmy should just be getting started, getting his feet wet in San Fran, and they draft Trey Lance. So, I think eventually this is Trey's team. I'm excited about it, but this is not something to waste a draft pick on. If you have the capital and it's the end and it's Mr. Irrelevant, do it. But if you don't do it. Somebody's going to go high on this. Some fan of the Niners is going to take Trey Lance early. And let them do it. Could pay off in the long run. I think it will. But not worth an early pick and having to wait. Because you can't wait in fantasy. You can't afford to lose 4 or 5 weeks in a row and then hope to be okay. You have to be strong from the gate. And you have to be able to make good moves. That's a move to make later, not early in the draft, and not as your starter. Seattle, Russell Wilson's still there. Geno Smith, he's still a quarterback in the NFL. Alex Mago's there. Danny Etling is there as well. What are your thoughts on Russell Wilson's Seahawks?
Yeah, how can you not like Russell Wilson? He's usually a highly productive quarterback. He can scramble as well as throw the ball. He can throw the ball on the run. He can create magic, and he's got some magic at receiver in DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett. And they bring in Dwayne Eskridge, who's going to start right away in the slot. I do like some depth they have at the position, and a Freddie Swain, an unheard of name, Penny Hart. I like these guys, but don't forget the names, of course, DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, and now Dwayne Eskridge. The running back situation is going to be a little bit in flux. They have a talented Chris Carson, who seems to get hurt just about every year, followed by Rashawn Penny, Travis Homer, and DJ Dallas. Homer and Dallas, of course, both hailing from the Hurricanes. It's kind of funny to see that one team took both running backs from one team as something else, but I like Chris Carson a lot. I have since I saw him, the product at Oklahoma State, and I think that gives Russell Wilson confidence in that backfield, knowing that he's going to have that protection at the pass block, yet also give fear to the linebackers that Chris Carson may be getting the ball. I think Carson and Wilson help each other out tremendously. I think Wilson's got a great head on his shoulders. He's got the 12th man half the year when they're there. He's got the home field. Well, not last year, really, obviously, but I've seen him ranked as high as number 4. I've seen him ranked as low as number 9. I have them QB6, 6 quarterback off the board, right behind Dak Prescott and above Jason Herbert.
Yeah, I think there's a lot to be said about Russell Wilson. I mean, we look at what he's done. 9 seasons he started every regular season game, 144 starts in 144 games. The man has a 65% completion percentage for his career, and his best completion percentage, or his best completion percentage was this past year, 68.1. 2015-16, he was, 68.8 this season that just passed, 68.1 in 2015-16. 33,946 total yards, 267 passing touchdowns to 81 interceptions. The numbers don't lie. Russell Wilson, if he's your 4 or your 5 off the board at quarterback, I don't knock that by any stretch of my imagination. He is a great number 1 to have, and his numbers do not lie, as I stated. So with that being said, that's an entire look at all of the NFC. 16 teams in one broadcast, a wake-up call. That's what we do here, folks. The Fantasy Football Power Hour, proudly powered by the Wildcat Sports Pub, 3680 Milton Avenue in Camillus, New York. You can go there 7 days a week for indoor and outdoor dining, and, of course, takeout and delivery. Call 315-487-2222. Mike Sofkov, Hall of Fame Fantasy Football. As always, I appreciate you, brother. Our winning fantasy football group on Facebook is easy. Go to the Facebook tab, the search bar, type in Winning Fantasy Football, and then find us there. It's as simple as that, as easy as that, and it's free to do. As always, Mike, I appreciate you, and I look forward to talking with you soon.
Sounds great, Dan. I look forward to next time.
All right, take care. That coming from Mr. Mike Sofka. We'll take our final step aside of the show. We'll be back in just a second where sports meets life on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Avicoli's on the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road in Liverpool, New York, has been with us for decades, and they are there for the live on-site, on-location, once-a-month feature with Liverpool Warriors Athletics. We will be there tonight, Wednesday, June 9th at 6 p.m., celebrating Liverpool boys lacrosse in the midst of the playoffs, following a victory and before their next game, sandwiched in the middle. We will have a giant community-based show tonight on Wednesday, June 9th, and we look forward to seeing you there at 6 p.m. at Avicoli's on the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road in Liverpool, New York. Canine Campground Dog Daycare and Canine Camp Dog Daycare and Canine Campground Dog Boarding, both located off of Bridge Street in East Syracuse, are your home for your furry-loving friend to feel safe and sound and well. And it is an extension of family. It is a beautiful place. I trust them with Lily. I trust them with your pup. Head out there today. The campground for long-term care, 242 Johnson Street in East Syracuse, and right up the road from that, 228 Old Bridge Street for the Canine Camp Dog Daycare. There is nothing like peace of mind to take care of your furry-loving friend, and they do such an amazing job. PB&J's Lunchbox, find them on 663 Old Liverpool Road in their new location in Liverpool. They're brick and mortar. You will find their food truck at the Syracuse Food Truck Takeovers in Great Northern, Wednesdays from 4 to 8 p.m. You'll find them all over the community, all over upstate and central New York, and now you have them there for you. So as you follow them around the city and follow them around the towns and follow them around central and upstate New York, you can now go to them and find them at 663 Old Liverpool Road. The only thing better than this amazing food truck is knowing that they now have a cafe for us to go to all throughout the week. Right down the road from Destiny USA, right off the thruway, and of course around the corner from Onondaga Lake Parkway, 663 Old Liverpool Road in Liverpool, New York. PB&J's Lunchbox with the award-winning grilled peanut butter and jelly and so much more. Find them today. And Victory Sports Medicine and Orthopedics in Skinny Atlas on 791 West Genesee Street. We have fantastic videos every single month with Victory Sports Medicine and Orthopedics. We just started doing that last month in a series called On the Clock with Doc, and that's Dr. Mark Petropoli. He leads a team that listens to you, cares about you, and makes the patient a priority. They treat you different. That's why I've gone there for almost a decade, and that's why I tell you to go there as well. Call today for an appointment at 315-685-7544. That's 315-685-7544, and pay attention to all of our upcoming broadcasts we have with Victory Sports Medicine and Orthopedics. With that being said, here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, I want to tell you to have a fantastic day. Tomorrow's show is going to have Papa Joe at his normal place, 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. Eastern Time, and we will be talking about a bunch of different things within the segment with him. Of course, baseball, as he's given us his power rankings throughout the last couple weeks, and I love that, and I love the updates. So we'll be doing that with PJ. And in hour number 2, the sports hit list crew of Carl Coulange, as well as Travis McKay and Ray Lachard will be joining me to speak about the NBA and so many awesome topics. It has to do with the NBA current playoffs, but it branches out to so many different things. You have no idea what you're in for on video tomorrow, and I love that we get to share that with you. And, of course, on TGIF, we have the Annoying Moment of the Week presented by Carvel DeWitt. Lead with Juanita Ward, presented by Chick-fil-A Cicero. Top Dog of the Week will be announced, presented by the Canine Camp Dog Daycare and Canine Campground Dog Boarding. And Joe Adam will be joining me with a very special broadcast about faith and football. So, all of that's coming up. We'll talk to you in the meantime on Facebook at Wake Up Call DT, Twitter at Call DT, and Instagram at Wake Up Call_DT. And you know how I leave it with you as always. I don't leave you without anything but positive. God bless. No stress. Do your best. And how about that Fran Satora and CNS Girls Across? We'll talk with you soon.